On the news, court dismisses suit to declare Ayade's seat vacant over defection. New revenue sharing formula proposes lesser percentage for federal government. And Boko Haram commander surrenders to troops in Borno. We're glad to have you join us to news now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. The Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed a suit by the People's Democratic Party, PDP, seeking the removal of Governor Ben Ayade of Cross River State for defecting to the All Progressives Congress, APC. Delivering his judgment on the suit, the judge Taiwo held that a governor cannot be sacked on account of defecting from the political party on whose platform he was elected to another. The justice explained that the removal of a sitting governor and his deputy can only be done in line with constitutional provisions. He added that under such provisions, the judiciary lacks the powers to remove an elected officer. The justice, however, agreed that defection from a winning party to a losing one is immoral and improper. President Muhammadu Buhari has received a report on new revenue formula which seeks a 3.33% reduction in the current federal government allocation. The report was presented by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. President Buhari, however, said he would await the final outcome of the constitutional review process before presenting the report of the review of the vertical revenue allocation formula to the National Assembly as a bill for enactment. The report proposes a sharing formula of 45.17% for the federal government, 29.79% for state government, and 21.04% for the local government. The development is coming on the heels of the review of the current revenue sharing formula by Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, which commenced in June last year.
Ordinarily, I would have gone ahead to table this report before the National Assembly as a bill for enactment. However, since the review of the vertical revenue allocation formula is a function of the roles and responsibilities of the different tiers of government, I will await the final outcome of the constitutional review process, especially as some of the proposed amendments would have a bearing on the recommendation contained herein, such as A. Establishing local government as a tier of government and the associated abrogation of the state local government account. B. Moving airports, fingerprints, identification, and criminal records from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent legislative list. C. Empowering the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission to enforce compliance with remittance of accruals into and disbursement of revenue from the Federation account, and D. Streamlining the procedure for reviewing the revenue allocation formula.
Well, to deliberate on this further, Libera Soshoma, legal practitioner and political affairs analyst, joins me now on the news. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you make of the proposed reduction in the federal government's revenue share in revenue? Would this in any way enshrine equitable distribution of the accrued revenue into the federation account to the three tiers of government?
Yeah, thank you, Folashade. I think what is happening here is an indirect way of trying to silence the call for fiscal federalism and restructuring that had been at the forefront or at the top burner of all national discussions till date. So this idea of trying to, review and reverse the revenue sharing to give the states a little upper hand, and then the federal government, reduce a few percentage from the federal government allocation. For me, it's not, and we definitely not address the revenue sharing issue or the crisis that had actually started the call for restructuring and financial and fiscal federalism in Nigeria. Because basically what you see happening here, it's now, giving the state and the local government a little above 50%. The question you will now ask yourself is, even the one that was given to the state before and the local government, what did they do with it? And then also, secondly, because this money is what you call a feeding bottle system of government. Somebody just sit down and the revenue is collected, then at the end of the month you go to Abuja, you collect a share of it. So it's not properly utilized. But if it is money that you actually sourced for, locally, like what we call internally generated revenue, and you pay taxes to the federal, then everybody will sit up. What basically people are against is this feeding bottle system, where you collect every revenue and then you now decide a formula to sharing it. Everybody collects equally, and then some collect on the basis of population or size or number of local governments. It definitely would work. A situation like one example I would give you, which has been on the top burner, for example, is a state like Kano, Katsina, Jigawa, and all of these things, with the number of local government that they have. So whatever is coming to the local government, coupled with what eventually comes to the state, will be much more than, some of the other states down south here, who are not collecting derivation. So there's no need for all of this revenue sharing. Let's actually practice fiscal federalism, where people actually pay taxes to the federal. And then the federal can now use that as an opportunity to help those states that are not too buoyant, that are poor. So this idea, if you like, turn it upside down, give the states more, and then give federal a little, you're still going to have the same challenges and problems.
Now, could you briefly tell us, the report proposed 29.79% for state governments and 21.04% for the local governments. But with the financial and administrative autonomy not yet granted to all the local governments across Nigeria, how do you see this playing out?
So basically, what that means, first and foremost also, is the fact that the state government, collectively with the local government, will get about 51% of the revenue. So with that, that's why I said the state government and the local government collectively, because we all know that the funds that is accruable to the local government, it hardly gets directly to the local government. What they have is a situation where they have what they call a FAC and JAC, joint account with the local government. And then when the local government sign away, part of their revenues, to the state government, and then in turn, you share it for equitable distribution. So when that happens, the money is still going to go to the state government, and then the state government takes over the agencies of the local government, and then spend the money the way they like. The autonomy that we'll be talking about for local government, you remember Executive Order number 10, that spells out penalty for state governors that do not comply with autonomy for local government, states, and the state judiciary and legislature. The executive order was struck down. So definitely what's going to happen is that the state are just going to have more money, and then the governors are going to be more wasteful, and at the end of the day, the benefits will not certainly accrue to the local government that it should accrue to.
Well, indeed, Liberal Soshoma, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but it's this much you can take on the topic. But many thanks, legal practitioner and political affairs analyst, Liberal Soshoma. Thank you very much for your contribution. Public buildings in the country could be getting a new lease of life as the president is giving assent to Executive Order 11 on public building maintenance across the country. The signing of the document preceded the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting at the council chambers of the State House in Abuja. Speaking shortly before appending his signature, President Buhari directed all ministries, departments and agencies to set up maintenance departments in line with the provisions of the new executive order. Our correspondent, Mujisala Matami, has the details in this report.
The weekly Federal Executive Council meeting commenced with President Muhammadu Buhari signing the Executive Order 11, a national public building maintenance policy. According to the President, maintenance of assets is more than a culture but an economy, which will aid in providing employment for a good number of Nigerians.
The federal government has consciously started the implementation of maintenance and strategic facilities like the Federal Secretariat in Abuja, Federal Secretariat in 24 states of the Federation, where at least 40 people are now daily employed in each of those 24 secretariats in post-rehabilitation maintenance and facility management.
After the meeting, State House correspondents were briefed on the memos presented and the approvals granted by the Council. While Council approved 3.1 billion naira for the rehabilitation of the Kefi-Nasarawa-Toto Road, the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, breaks down the benefits of the Executive Order 11 on the Nigerian people.
Some of the things that are used in maintenance, washing, detergent, cleaning, brooms, brush, tools, are locally made as well. So the MSMEs who make these things will be a major beneficiary of the uptick in demand for this. You also have, as part of maintenance and facility management, provision of security services, uniforms, employment. So this is just going to release another sector of the economy.
FEC also approved the sum of 35 billion naira for numerous aviation infrastructure projects across the country. Aviation Minister Adesirika will disclose this, said the projects would include maintenance of the nation's new international building terminals in Abuja and Port Harcourt.
Procurement and maintenance of 100 units, check-in counters, weighing scales and spare parts at Murtala Mohammed Airport and Abuja airports, given to Masses BLK International Limited at the sum of 846,462,232.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, who briefed on the memo from the Ministry of Education, revealed that FEC approved the issuance of provisional licenses for the establishment of 12 private universities across the country.
You can see that some of them are a bit specialists in terms of sports university, University of Medical Sciences and the like. And of course, from the memo, it's clear that with the population of 200 million, we do not have enough universities, because I think both the private and the public universities we have today is about 203 or 201, while smaller countries with smaller population have, several hundreds. So there's still need for more private universities.
On the issue of insecurity bedeviling the nation, Lai Mohammed blamed the media for providing oxygen for terrorists by publishing their activities on the front page of every newspaper, saying contrary to public perception, the federal government was not overwhelmed with insecurity issues across the country. Mojisola Matomi, TV360 News.
And now to security. The Defense Headquarters, DHQ, says Salah Mustafa, a commander of Boko Haram, has surrendered to troops of Operation Hadinkai in Northeast. Addressing journalists on Thursday in Abuja, Bernard Unyoko, Director of Defense Media Operations, said Mustafa's surrender to the troops in Bama was significant. Giving an update on military operations between March 25 and April 7, Unyoko said the troops also neutralized scores of insurgents, while 22 spies, 11 bandits and 3 logistics suppliers were arrested, with 30 civilians rescued during the period.
A notable high-profile commander of the terrorists surrendered to own troops by name Saleh Mustafa Ibn Katir. He surrendered to own troops at Bama. He was the Qaid of Garim Baaba in the terrorist enclaves. While the terrorists continue to surrender in their droves, as at 5th April, a total of 51,114 Boko Haram terrorists and their families surrendered to own troops, comprising of 11,398 men, 15,381 women. Within the period under review, the troops recorded some modest successes as the air component on 30th March conducted airstrikes upon receiving credible intelligence about movement of some terrorists towards Akilibu and Serikin Power Road at Mangoro village between Kaduna and Niger State. The air component intercepted and neutralized scores of terrorists. Accordingly, 34 terrorists were neutralized, while 14 locally fabricated guns and 17 motorcycles which they used were recovered. All the recovered items have also been handed over to appropriate authorities.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, Customs says no plan to reduce duty on imported vehicles. Details of this story and more right after this break. Welcome back. Now here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. The Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed a suit by the People's Democratic Party (PDP) seeking the removal of Governor Ben Ayade of Cross River State for defecting to the All Progressives Congress (APC). Delivering his judgment on the suit, Judge Taiwo held that a governor cannot be sacked on account of defecting from the political party on whose platform he was elected to another. We also told you that President Muhammadu Buhari has received a report on the new revenue formula which seeks a 3.33% reduction in the current federal government allocation. President Buhari, however, said he will await the final outcome of the constitutional review process before presenting the report of the review of the vertical revenue allocation formula to the National Assembly as a bill for enactment. But in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we are TV360 Online. It's been roughly 2 years since the federal government imposed a series of COVID-19 prevention guidelines to prevent further spread of the deadly COVID-19 virus. But the federal government, through the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, has begun a revision of its previous directives. A major highlight of the revised measures by the committee is the removal of former restrictions on movement within the country, with the lifting of a nationwide curfew imposed from 12 midnight to 4 a.m. It has also removed limitations on both domestic and international air travels, and in that the wearing of face masks in public places is no longer compulsory. To discuss this development further, Dr. Insia Kanem, public health expert, joins me on the news. Thank you, doctor, as always. Now, is Nigeria merely toeing the line of other countries, or is Nigeria indeed out of the woods in terms of a possible fifth wave?
Thank you very much for having me. It has become necessary from the data that we have that we should lift up some of these restrictions. For example, the fact that many Nigerians are now vaccinated against COVID-19, and of course, not just in Nigeria, but in other countries of the world, we are having very, very few cases of imported cases of COVID-19. So it's the burden in Nigeria and around Nigeria within other countries has dropped significantly. So it's no longer a threat, or what I could call public health emergency of international concern. So with that development, it is only reasonable that some of these restrictions should be lifted as far as COVID-19 public health measures are concerned.
But do you have any concerns about a possible fifth wave, especially if for one reason or the other there's a reemergence of this virus?
Well, I would say that with the coverage of the vaccines all across Nigeria, I don't see the potential of a fifth wave. And remember that across most of African countries, the numbers have dropped so significantly. So it is only if we have probably a genetic modification of the current wave or the current variant that we may have a possible feed wave, like we're seeing in some of the South Asian countries. But for Nigeria, I really don't see any of such happening in the nearest future.
Well, indeed, Dr. Ntiabasi Ekanem, thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you so much for your time. Well, we'll take a break here and return with more stories in business. To stay with us.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
Wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Abisola Adebayo now joins us for more stories in business. Over to you, Bisola.
Thank you very much, Folashade. Welcome to Business News. The Nigeria Customs Service has said there are no plans for duty reduction on imported vehicles. This comes amid speculations that the service has reviewed the tariff on imported used vehicles from 35% to 20%. According to reports, the duty rate is applicable on Common External Tariff Trade Portal under the HS Code 8703. However, the clearing agents have insisted that the customs must make an official statement announcing the reduction in duty. The Central Bank of Nigeria has extended the interest rate forbearance it grants to borrowers of some of its intervention funds by 1 year. This is contained in a circular to all banks and other financial institutions by the Central Bank. The Apex Bank had extended the rate cut by 1 year when it expired in March 2021. However, the Central Bank has extended the rate again for another year after it expired in the previous month. But we'll take a break now and return with a review of the stock market. The bears further tightened its grip on the Nigerian capital market on Thursday following the crash in equity capitalization at the close of day's business. The development cost the investors 12 billion naira, with the equity capitalization dropping to 25 trillion naira after 8 hours of trading. Similarly, the all-share index was down by 0.48% to close at 46,543 basis points. Leading the stocks that led the market on a downward course, we have banking and finance stocks Veritas Cap leading 17 others as it recorded a 2 kobo loss. It was closely followed by conglomerate USCN PLC, who recorded an 85 kobo loss. On the flip side, as our gainers list for today, Corn Oil and RT Briscoe led the gainers counter, recording a 2 naira 25 kobo gains. But despite the negative sentiment in the market, the total turnover got a boost when compared to yesterday's transaction, a sign of increased sell-off by market players, which is why we can see 244 million units of shares valued at 2.3 billion naira exchanging hands in 4,710 deals. Now, should we hope for a glimmer of hope in the market or not? We'll find out tomorrow, which is the close of the week's trading. Moving on to the foreign scene, the FTSE, the Dow Jones and the Nikkei, they are all in the negative territory. The FTSE turned lower today after the Federal Reserve minutes pointed to a half-point increase in interest rates in May, as well as reduction in the central bank's balance sheet. The Dow Jones also dropped, extending losses following 2 straight days of sharp stock market sell-offs. But investors are looking out for the early release of weekly jobless claims data before they make any major moves. Meanwhile, Japan stocks also sank to a 3-week low today as investors fretted over prospects of faster U.S. monetary tightening, the war in Ukraine, and COVID-19 lockdowns in China. That's all on stock market reports. Back to you, Folashade, for the rest of the news.
Well, many thanks, Bisola. And on the foreign scene, Ukraine has accused its neighbor, Kremlin ally Hungary, of appeasing Russian aggression and disrupting EU unity. This comes following a telephone call between the Hungarian and Russian leaders. Putin had congratulated Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban after his party won a 4th term in general elections last week. Orban had previously had one of the closest relationships to Putin of any EU leader. During his call with the Russian president, he restated his opposition to Hungary sending weapons to Ukraine and to the EU imposing an embargo on Russian energy imports, on which Hungary is highly dependent. Well, up next is Entertainment Reporter News Now.
The marriage of Nollywood actress Nkechi Blessing Sunday to Ekiti-born politician Okoyemi Falegan has crashed a year after they tied the knot. The estranged husband confirmed their split in an Instagram live where he disclosed that he does not want to be associated with Nkechi Blessing, who he alleged is a lesbian. According to him, he is no longer a husband and wants to protect his name. The whole drama began after blogger Gist Lover alleged that the actress slept with a man for an endorsement deal. Addressing a statement on her Instagram page, Nkechi Blessing also confirmed the split with her husband, warning that anyone who is with him should be ready to feed him. Also, she accused Falegan of being lazy, living off her, and using her name to seek favors from colleagues and others. Netflix has confirmed the release date for its latest Ebony Live Studios collaboration, Blood Sisters. The 4-part crime thriller series directed by B.E. Bandele and Kenneth Giang will launch globally on May 5th, 2022. Starring Inidima Okoje and Nancy Sime as its leading ladies, the series themes include intra-family connections, physical and drug addiction, love, dedication, and relationships, as well as the test of friendships under difficult situations. The cast of Blood Sisters also includes screen veterans and industry pioneers Ramsey Noah, Kate Henshaw, Uche Jumbo, Shego Arize, and Jackie Silva, as well as film superstars Nancy Sime, Inidima Okoje, Deyemi Okonlawon, Kehinde Bankole, Toke Makinwa, among others. And that is all that we have for you in the entertainment segment of News Now.
Away from entertainment, now to sport. As part of preparations for the 2022 Africa Women Cup of Nations in Morocco, the Super Falcons of Nigeria will clash with reigning female Olympic champions Canada in 2 friendly matches. Meanwhile, the 9-time African champions have arrived Canada ahead of the match, which will be held on the 8th and 11th of April, respectively, in the cities of Vancouver and Victoria City. And that's the size of our news bulletin. Many thanks for watching. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Bye for now.